Hi, Jonathan. I wondered on the 4th and 14 play late, obviously Keontra was a spy on FSU's quarterback on that play. Was he permitted to aggressively rush on that play? Because on the previous play on a 3rd and 14, Amari kind of looked like a spy, but quickly rushed and got pressure on the quarterback. So was Keontra allowed to rush in that instance?
Yeah, so we did have him spy on the quarterback. What we tell those guys is we don't go get them unless they get out of the pocket, off the mark. You know, at times if it opens up wide open and they would take it at that moment, he didn't feel like he was off the mark, so he didn't go and rush because we don't want to bury ourselves. We don't want to rush, and then that quarterback gets out on the run, and we know what he can do with his feet. That's how they beat Syracuse. So he was a little bit patient there. Looking back, maybe could have made a play, maybe not. But he was doing what he was coached to do in that instance.
Thanks, John.
Coach, next we'll go to Manny Navarro from The Athletic. Manny, go ahead.
Hey, Coach Patke.
Hey.
Wanted to ask you about the two freshmen that you guys just got, Johnson and I'm forgetting the other kid's name. But you guys obviously had a couple linebackers you brought in. Just their progress. I know behind the scenes they're working to get there so you can put them on the field. Just wonder where they're at in the development.
Yeah, Tyler Johnson and Troutman.
Yeah.
Troutman, he's coming along. I think he's close to getting there. Obviously the more reps he can get at practice, obviously we throw him out there at practice when we can. So I think he's going to have a bright future. And then Tyler, he got here a little bit later than Troutman. Got here towards the end of the summer, so he was a little bit behind, just as far as getting reps and sitting in a meeting. So a little bit further behind as far as mentally, but athletically, they're everything you want. Long, can run, physical. So those guys will have a bright future here, in my opinion.
Just as a quick follow, I think we saw Chase Smith. I mean, I know he was been with the Strikers, but did you guys have him inside at all? One of the two, weak side or middle in the game? We saw him get some snaps.
No, he went in and played striker for us and did a really nice job. Been waiting to get him into the game, and it so happened to be this game, and went in there, made 2 tackles, I believe. I think he got around 10 snaps, and then, he's also, can be part of our third down package. So the guy he's been locked in, he's focused. Really excited to get him out there and let him watch him run around and make tackles. So it was good to see. I think you can see the amount of young guys we have out there, and they're learning by the fire at times, but also their playmaking ability shows up.
Thanks.
Reminder to please use the hand raise function. If you've got a question for Coach Patke, we'll go to Daryl Streeter at Footballville. Daryl, go ahead.
To follow up on Chase Smith, does he have the tools to convert to linebacker future in his career?
Yeah, I mean, his length. I mean, he's a really big guy. Obviously, when I recruited him as a striker because I love his length and his speed and he's quick, he's fast. He played wide out and safety in high school. So, but with that frame, you can also put on with in another offseason, he could end up being big enough to come inside, and I know he's physical enough. He loves ball. He's a headhunter. He's got a nose for the football. So definitely, you always want your best 11 out there. So we got to find a way to if that's inside or striker, whatever it may be. But he did show up the other day.
Coach, next we'll go to Susan Miller-Degnan at the Herald. Susan, go ahead.
Hey, John.
Hey.
Wondering about your perception on how it might have been different in general had Manny Diaz hired a defensive coordinator as opposed to taking on, that role all himself and having to wear all the hats also that a head coach has to wear, and how much more complicated that's made it. What, you being a defensive guy, how do you see that?
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't think you can ever look at the other side of that. We are where we are, and Coach Diaz is doing a great job, in my opinion, of building this program and calling plays. And I think it's natural for him to call defenses, and that's what he wanted to do. And I don't think you can second guess that after a loss. I just don't think in a big game you always want to second guess a call or what we're doing inside. And I just don't think that's the time. I think he's doing a heck of a job. And obviously he's my mentor in this business, and I've learned this defense underneath him. And we played a lot of great defense here and while he was calling the plays. So really, really elite defense. And if you go back to your 16, your 17, your 18, when he was DC, you're talking top 10 in the country. So he knows he can do it. We all believe in him as a staff. So, I don't ever think about the other side of it.
Coach, we'll go next to Matt Shodell from Cane Sport. Matt, go ahead.
Hey, Jonathan. So I wanted to ask you about that final punt to Florida State. I thought that the returner had signaled for a fair catch. Maybe he did not. Can you tell me what happened on that? And then also, is one of your guys supposed to run behind the returner in case in that situation he's going to let it go? I was just curious on that also. Thanks.
Yeah. So if we want to down it, obviously we would want to down that at the 1 yard line like we did earlier in the game. Earlier in the game, we were actually on the plus side of the territory. So I can always tag a pooch onto our punt, which tells our gunners to go ahead and bypass the returner and go to the 1 yard line and down it, just like they did beautifully before in the game. Now, the last punt, we were minus 45 yard line. The guy had just muffed a punt. I really wanted him to field it because I think he would have muffed it again. And what happened was our guys surrounded him. We did not tag Pooch because I wanted he did fair catch. We surrounded him, and at the last second, he pulled out of it. And he didn't want to field the ball. So, it was an unfortunate bounce. It landed on the 15 yard line. It took a 15 yard bounce, and we got it. It was close. Malik had his hands on it while it was going into the end zone. So it was just an unfortunate bounce, but we were hoping he fielded it one way or the other. Either he was going to muff it, and we were going to gain possession, or it was going to be on the 15 yard line. So, I think Lou executed beautifully a kick that we wanted, and the Gunners were surrounding the returner, hoping because we had already seen him drop one. We wanted him to drop another one.
Coach, last hand up I got for you is from David Wilson of the Miami Herald. David, go ahead.
Hey, John, I want to ask you about the penalties, which I know obviously aren't just limited to one unit, but you got, I think the linebackers, I think all three jumped off sides on that first possession there. It's obviously just been kind of a persistent issue the last few years here. I don't know, what do you guys need to do to clean that up?
Yeah, I feel like in the last couple of weeks, we have cleaned up our penalties. I think that first drive, penalties come because of emotion. And when you become emotional and you start pressing, you start getting penalties. So I think our guys were emotional in a big time game. And then, so Corey jumped off with a pressure. They got us on a hard count, which we knew that they did hard count at times. So they got Corey. And then in the red zone, they got K4 on the same thing. He was on a pressure, so he ran into the center. And then they got K4 on a Keontre. They got him on a horse collar, which he had him by the shoulder pad, and the guy didn't come backwards. So I don't know what you call that. I didn't think that was a horse collar in my opinion, but it goes down in the books as a penalty. So we had to treat it as one, and we had to take care of that as a team, which we do every week. We don't allow penalties, and we can't have those. So, jumping off sides in the first drive was unfortunate. They got us. We got it calmed down after that. Obviously, got on their snap mechanics, and that they were going hard count on us quite often. But the horse collar on Keontre, it's you go back and watch the film. He had him on the shoulder pad, and the guy fell forward. So I think the definition of a horse collar is the guy has to go backwards. So that's one of those say, hey man, you can't do that, and you got to be punished for penalties. But some of those are questionable in my opinion. And the one on the sideline that Keontre got later, same thing. It was a bang play. His foot was still in bounds. He was pulling up out of bounds. Keontre went to hit him while his foot was still in play. So it's either I tell the guys to slow down and don't take a shot at the guy that's still in the field of play, or it's going to be a 50-50 call on whether we get that. I think there's multiple penalties that you can get. Pre-snap, obviously we can't happen. That can't happen. That's playing with emotion. That's whatever you may call it. But during the play penalties, those are if they're just blatant, they're blatant. But I don't think the two on Keontre were blatant. But obviously he has the he has a man up for those, and he did, and we constantly got to coach that. But I think in the last few weeks we have gotten better with penalties. It's unfortunate that in a game like that we had to start off the first drive with so many penalties.